Hello there and welcome to this tutorial. I will show you a way to use one single script to enable or disable the fans. For example, if I press C, the ceiling fan will slowly stop spinning, and when I press F, the desk fan will stop spinning. And likewise, if I press F again, the sound will fade up and the fan will start spinning. If you press the C key, the ceiling key, the ceiling fan will start to rotate, and also if you press C again, it will turn off, of course, but also the pitch changes. You can easily modify the code to have a different sound clip for the turning off sound, but I thought for this tutorial it will do. So to follow along, you need DoTween. It's a free package from Giant. It's an awesome tool if you come from an ActionScript background, but it doesn't even matter. It's a syntax or class package, so you're able to move things, rotate things, fade things in and out, and it's awesome, and it's very lightweight and fast. So all you need to do is download it, import it, and you will find it under Tools, DoTween Utility panel, and this will look red, and all you need to do is set up DoTween. So before we start coding, let me show you how I built this scene. So I have a ceiling fan, and it has a ceiling fan audio source. So the best thing to do is you select your object, you right click, and you say audio source, and then it will put it as a child in roughly the same location that you want. The audio source, put it as play on awake as false and loop as true. You can set it as a 3D sound if you wish, and then select the sound that you want to use for making the noise of when it's rotating. The blades itself will have the script attached. We will look at it later, but it also needs a audio source with no audio clip. You can add it, but it doesn't really matter. And a play on awake of true. You can set it to false. It doesn't really matter. But the thing that's important is to undo the loop. And if we look at the desk fan, it will roughly look the same. So we have the audio source with, again, the same sound file. As always, you can choose a different one if you want. And then the blades have the script attached and also a audio source with the play on awake. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure that loop is turned off. So let's do the coding part. If you right click in your script folder and create a new script and call it blades, double click it. In order to use the DoTween package, you will be using DG from Giant and then tweening. Let's save this, and let's require a component. So require component type of, and that's a audios. I can't type audio source. And make sure you close it off. So next up, we are going to set the variables, and I will paste them in and explain them line by line. So the first one is interaction key code. We can set it, most of these variables, I put them as public because it's yeah, easy and fun to see it work in the editor. So the first one is the key code. We can set it at F as a standard, but if we attach it to different objects, we can choose a key code. The next one, speed and init speed, are the is the time to rotate to its maximum speed. The direction I will explain later. Then we have a turn off speed, which will actually be calculated later on. We have an increment and a max increment, and this is simply to add a certain value to the current rotation. If you put this higher, the speed of which the rotation will go will be faster and more obvious. We have two booleans, is on, to check if the current state of the object is on or not. And we have a switched off by key press, which basically is a boolean to make sure that we register the key press of the interaction key code. Then we have the audio source, which is private for the interaction because it's attached to the blades itself. Then we have a public interaction audio clip. We can select this later. We have the volume because I'm using with as loud as possible sound files, so I can tweak it inside of my editor. And we have an interaction pitch, which we can do some mat randoms or a random range even to make it sound different every time, basically. Then we have a public audio source for the Foley, and the Foley, I mean the background sound. So in this case, the audio source here, ceiling fan and desk fan. We have the volume. Again, it's pretty high, so I choose a low number. And then the fade-in speed and the fade-out speed we will calculate with some values. And then the Foley pitch, which we keep at normal, but of course you can, for example, put the fan higher than the ceiling one, so it doesn't so it isn't so obvious you're using the same file. We have the Foley fading speed amount, and I put this at a very tiny float, simply because I just want to mimic as realistic as possible that the rotation sound will be different over time when you turn it off, and you can mess around with this. Then we have a sound turn off multiplier, which is a multiplier for the fade out speed, because we will be using Unity built-in rotation, but we will use the do-tween fading option, and to match it a little bit, I did some test, and I came out with 60 frames, but it will all be more clear once we start coding. Now we don't need start. We can put in awake here and enable the do-tween package. So simply type do-tween.init. And we'll set some of the audio properties. So we first set the audio volume of the Foley to 0. We get the component of the current object. Remember, this script will be on the blades where we attached the second audio source to. Then we'll get the component of the audio source of the Foley. So this one, right? And we'll set the interaction audio source to play on awake false. And of course you can make sure that the Foley play on awake is false and the loop is false, or at least for the interaction audio source. So to make it more clear, I'll put in like this and type loop and make sure that's false. So for the Foley audio source, it doesn't really matter. So inside of the update, we're going to check for the input. So, whoops, we say input dot get key down, and we'll check for the interaction key code. Oops, again, key code. Make sure we close it off, like so. And then we need a check for the is on statement or boolean. So if it's on, or better, if is on is false, basically we're going to turn the object on. So turn the object on. And again, I'm going to paste in the code to make it a little bit quicker. So the switch off by key press, we simply turn it to false. And I forgot to copy this, but is on needs to be at true. So we switch off the key press, as in we make sure it's false. If we put it later on or off, we'll create a temporary interaction pitch, which will be a random range between the interaction pitch minus this value. This will be different for your particular sound. And for the other opposites of the random range, we'll choose the interaction pitch plus this value. Once again, if you put these numbers at a ridiculous amount, the sound will be quite different. But again, these values are working for my particular sound. Then we set the interaction audio source pitch to the temporary interaction pitch. We'll make sure that the Foley audio source pitch is the Foley pitch. And then we'll say the interaction audio source will play a one-shot of the interaction audio clip at the interaction volume. And we'll make sure the Foley audio source plays. So to make this a little bit more nice, we'll put it like this. So let me copy the other part. So turn the object off. We'll say is on is false, switch off by key press is true, and basically you can copy this line and play the interaction clip again. Also, you could copy this line for a random interaction pitch. Of course, both lines. So let's save this and basically make sure and interaction input. So the next part is to make a new if statement with an else. So like so. And over here we will calculate the speed and everything else. So first of all, we need to check if the object is on. And we'll make some if statement for the speed. So we say speed equals not the maximum speed, like so. Copy this and put it less than or equal to 0 to maximum speed. And let's add the speed, and then we're going to use the do fade functionality on the Foley audio source. So we say Foley audio source dot do fade, and let's close this off. No, let me keep it open so you can see the properties. So first we need the end value, and this will be the Foley volume. Foley volume at the Foley fade in speed, which was Foley sound fade in speed, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So that's done. Then we are going to check if the speed is less than actually we need to check if it's equal to the maximum speed. So we're going to put speed at max speed, like so. We're going to say that the increment, remember this is the extra force for the rotation. We'll put this at increment max, like this. And we'll do some math with the turn-off speed. So basically the turn-off speed will be speed divided by 4. And when it's not at its maximum speed, we're going to say turn-off speed is speed divided by 2. Why? It just happened to work for me. So then we actually are going to rotate the transform of the blades. So transform dot rotate with a capital, and let's close this immediately. We're going to do some math again. So we're going to say in these little hooks, I'm not sure what the name is, but it's direction, which is the vector tree, times increment. This we're going to multiply by, and let's open those things again, by time dot delta time times the speed. So remember, this will be this value will be growing over time. So let's save this. And once again, before we continue, let's check what actually the direction is. So inside of Unity, and when I select the blades, you will see that when I rotate this object to the left, which we set in the variables that it's left, the item will rotate counterclockwise. So we are actually going to later, but maybe I can already attach the code. So over here in direction, we're going to put it at -1. So what this basically means is we will be rotating it to the left, but since this is a negative value, it will go clockwise. So the X stands for the direction, and we'll put it at a -1. Now for the blades on the ceiling one, as you can see, it rotates on the Y-axis here in the inspector. But if we attach this, we're going to have to change this X to 0 and put the Z to 1, because this will be rotating downwards on a downwards axis. And maybe this is a little bit confusing, but You guys probably know it better how to explain it. But basically that's the gist of it. So on the blades you put it at Z1, and on the desk fan you'll put it at -1 on the x-axis. Just play around with it, and the good thing is you can put it on play and see how it goes in your case. One other thing, for the blades on the ceiling fan, we're going to change this to C, and that's the nice thing about the public key code. Right, so in the else statement, which basically will check for the if switch stuff by key press, we could put equals to true, but this is the shorthand mode. We are not going to check a else here, but basically if the turn off speed is not 0, and let's open and close this, we're first going to decrease the speed and also the turn off speed. We're going to set the Foley audio source pitch dot pitch at Foley pitch minus Foley pitch fading amount. I can't type, I'm sorry. Next, we're going to set the fade out speed. So fade out speed equals to turn off speed divided by Foley turn off sound multiplier. So remember, this is to roughly match the rotation versus the fading of the audio. And then we can copy the Foley audio source do fade one and make some changes. So the audio volume, we're going to set it at audio volume 0, I'm sorry. No, we're going to set it at the volume minus the Foley volume. But now that I think of it, I don't think it's needed, but we'll see later on. And then we are going to set this one to the fade out speed. So Foley fade out speed. And what we also will be doing is set an ease. So set ease. And we'll put this at ease.out sine. Whoops. That's better. No, that's even worse. Oh my God. Right. Basically, we are done here. And now we're going to check if the turn off speed is less than or equal to 0. So if turn off speed is less than or equal to 0, make sure we close the if. And we're going to set the turn off speed, so off speed at 0. We're going to set the speed back to the initial speed. We're going to set the Foley audio source pitch back to Foley pitch. And basically we switched off by key press. So we'll set this to true, is on, is false of course. And to make sure that the audio actually stops when you press the specific key, we are going to kill the tween. So Foley audio source dot do kill. And yeah, as I mentioned, this will basically make sure that if you turn on the object, it will do everything we coded here, but the audio source sound fading will be still be continuing eventually if you turn it off quickly, and you can imagine that your gamers will pressing the key repeatedly. So I guess this is everything. And then, of course, we need to transform, but with a small letter, and here rotate with a capital letter. And actually, I'm going to copy this. And for speed, we are going to say turn off speed. So everything should work, I hope. But of course, we first need to add some sound clips. So with the blade selected, we're going to choose the interaction sound clip. So that's the click sound. And we are going to set the Foley audio source. So in this case, this will be the ceiling fan. Yep. Then for the blades, we're going to do the same thing. Desk fan audio source, put it here, and the audio clip, put it here. So let's put this Foley pitch of the fans on the desk to 0.5, and I think you should be able to hear it pretty well. So I hope these errors will be gone. So if I press F, this seems to be working, and when I press F again, the sound fades out and it nicely stops. And if you hear, this pitch is lower than the pitch on the desk fan. So to see this in action inside of Unity, if I press play again, and of course select the correct, no, I had to press the correct key. So if I press F, you will see the speed going up. The turn off speed will be calculated by the current speed with the variables we chose. And then all this stuff over here. And when we press F again, we can see the booleans switches, and we can see everything basically here going back to the initial speed. And of course, if I change the increment here to 50, for example, and we press F again, it will be spinning much faster. And of course, we can put the max speed also at 5,000, for example. Or let's try 5. I think we have to turn it off first to see it in action. No, I think I messed it up, but you catch you catch the idea. So yeah, thank you for watching my tutorial. We'll be posting some more tutorials, so make sure to please like, subscribe, give a comment, see how you're doing. I'll try to do my best to answer any questions. Thank you. Bye bye.